just absolutely love this headline. So basically, the Dutch government, being pressured by the United States, has stolen this Chinese company. Not technically stolen because it's legal. Like, they have an act which says that if it's for national interest, they can actually become like a communist state and seize private property from the communists. And now everyone is Pikachu-faced that, well, actually the staff has gone rogue. Imagine my shock. Okay, so basically what's happening is that making chips seems to be like one of the most difficult things that mankind can do right now. Very few companies can do it. There's a lot of reasons for it. Basically, that if you want to make a chip right now, you have to build the machines that build the machines that build the other machines that then build the chips. And so everything is extremely specific. The know-how is limited. There's intellectual property that prevents other companies from figuring out how to do it. Long story short, there's a very few companies on planet Earth that can make chips, right? And so people rely on the ones that can. One of them is China. Another one is Taiwan. And in the case of the Dutch, they had this Chinese company. Now, the United States is basically pressuring them and saying that, well, your entire national security and your European economics is built around this bottleneck, right? Because you need chips in order to manufacture cars, you need chips in order to make smartphones, you need chips in order to make TVs, and you need chips for the military. And so you can't let the Chinese dictate this, because in the future, like if there's a war or something, they can cut you off from the supply. And so the Dutch government decided to seize the company. You know, now here's the thing. There's kind of like this ironic twist of seizing private property from the communists. Like, I can't really say that's a bad thing, you know? But at the same time, you should expect that the staff is going to go rogue. Because they don't have to become the slaves of the company. Like, I see people on Twitter being upset at the staff. And it's like, well, hold on a little bit. Okay, like the staff are Chinese. And just because you took their company, you can't force them to work there. Like, there are laws against slavery, last time I checked. The problem is, again, like, they are the ones that have the know-how. They are the ones that know how to manufacture the chips. So, like, well, technically, the Dutch government can actually steal the building and the machinery inside and everything like that. They still need the people that can operate the machinery. And as I understand, like, they also aren't able to bring people from Taiwan, because they use a different type of technology. So, like, even they may not know how to do it. And, of course, like, there's stuff that's password protected and so on and so forth. And so, like, this may have been a blunder. Like, this may have been worse had they not done it at all. I find it weird that the United States wouldn't have anticipated this, right? Because, again, like, you can pretty much, like, tell them, okay, well, the building doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the Dutch government. And the staff can go like, okay, well, go fuck yourselves. And they leave. And now you have a building that no one knows how to operate. And so if the argument is like, well, Europe needs chips, and you can't afford not to have chips, like you can't afford China boycotting you and shutting down this business, well, now it's not going to operate if the Chinese people are there in order to make the chips, now is it? The main problem, though, is the same thing that happened during COVID, and it seems that Europe isn't learning from the pandemic, that unless you own the supply chains, unless you build your own stuff, the moment that the borders lock down, you're going to get fucked. And I still don't understand how Europe hasn't learned this after the gas from Russia, right? Like, Germany was dependent on gas from Russia in order to have, like, their cheap industry. And when the war happens, all of a sudden, the gas pipe gets cut, prices explode throughout the European Union, and they don't learn anything. And it's interesting because they're still pushing for green energy, they're still pushing for more regulations, they're still destroying their own industry. Like, when it comes to chip manufacturing, like, okay, you know, it's like one of the things that very few people on planet Earth can do, and so it's a little bit more understandable that, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But there is, like, other industries and other things that Europe is actually dependent on China. Like, if I'm not mistaken, like, more than 40% of the industry were importing from China. I went to a mall yesterday, you know, in Romania, and I'm looking at made in China, like, literally everything there is made in China. Nothing is made in Europe. And so, what happens if the United States was now pressuring nations like the Dutch to make sure that their economy doesn't, at least when it comes to chip processors, doesn't rely on China? What happens like if there's an actual conflict between the United States and China? From what I can see, the European Union doesn't actually have a foreign policy. Like, our foreign policy is the American foreign policy. Like, almost everything that America does, the European Union does as well, right? When it comes to external geopolitics. And so, if the United States would ever go into conflict with China, like, say, over Taiwan, then what is the European Union going to do? Like, are we going to then start building up our industry? Are we going to then roll back regulations and especially shit about the climate and the environment so that we can finally, do what is common sense? The fascinating thing, if you look at the graph, like you would see just how China exploded in wealth. It's due to the fact that Europe said, all right, well, we're going to stop polluting here. We're going to save the planet. We're going to have our net zero, fit for 2035 or whatever the fuck it's called. And instead, they started buying from China. So like the entire European industry just moved to China. So we're not polluting in our backyard. We're polluting somewhere else. And we're buying from that place in order to save the planet. I swear to God, if I was a more cynical person, I would say that the whole environmentalist shit is so that they can call carbon a sin and regulate industries based on carbon in order not to call it socialism. Because that makes sense, right? Like if all of a sudden you're looking at an industry, you're saying, oh, you're producing carbon, so therefore this is the new price you're allowed to have, this is the regulations you need to have. It's very similar to socialism, right? Except unlike China, we have less skyscrapers, I guess. And less AI technology, and less robotics, and less chip manufacturing. But yeah, at least we're not and at least we're with the West, right? I'm not even sure like how this conflict is going to get resolved because it's ongoing. Like this is happening right now. And again, it's pretty serious because they really can't. I mean, if the Chinese government is going to forbid people from working at this building, I don't think they're going to find any Chinese to replace them. And yeah, like you can't get Taiwanese people, you can't get Americans, like you can't get anyone else because like it's their technology, it's their passwords over there, it's their security, and it's more importantly, it's their technical know-how. And of course, like I'm not saying that the Chinese may not try to put back doors into the chips or try to sabotage or shit. Like you had to think about it before inviting them in. You had to create your own chips. But, well, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.